Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Aparna, working as scientist in MFPI Quality Control Laboratory, Professor Jayashankar, Telangana State Agricultural University, Hyderabad. Today, let us learn about principles of food processing and preservation. Under this topic, we will learn about why food processing and preservation is important, what are the various methods of food preservation and processing. First, let us try to understand what is the main reason for food preservation. There are many reasons for food preservation. The main reasons being reduction of post-harvest losses in agriculture to produce value-added food products and also to provide variation in the diet to the consumers who are consuming it. The agricultural industry produces lots of raw food materials in different sectors. Inadequate management or improper planning in agricultural production can be overcome by avoiding inappropriate areas, times and amounts of raw materials, as well as by increasing the storage life by using simple methods of food preservation. Value-added foods can give better quality to the food items in terms of improved nutritional factors, improved functional properties, convenience and also sensory properties. In food preservation, the important points that need to be considered are: one is the desired level of quality. The second one is the preservation length, that is the shelf life of the food matrix. The third one is the group for whom the products are being prepared. So these are the three reasons or 3 points which are to be considered when we are preserving the food matrix. Now let us try to understand about the preservation of foods. After storage of a preserved food for a certain period, one or more of its quality attributes may reach to an undesirable state. Quality is an elusive, ever-changing concept, and in general, it is defined as the degree of fitness for use or the condition indicated by the satisfaction level of the customer or the consumer. When food has deteriorated to such an extent that it is considered unsuitable or unfit for consumption, then it is said to have reached the end of its shelf life. The product quality attributors can be quite varied, such as appearance, sensory properties, microbial characteristics, etc. Loss of quality is highly dependent on the types of the food as well as the consumption pattern, the formulation of the food material which has been prepared, the packaging type as well as the storage conditions. The product quality can be defined by using many factors including appearance, yield, eating characteristics or the sensory characteristics as well as the microbiological characteristics. But ultimately, the final use must provide a pleasurable experience to the consumer when he consumes the preserved food. The various stages of food production, manufacture, storage, distribution and sales are to be understood before we understand the preservation procedures. Let us try to understand the various stages of food production first. The quality loss during these various stages of food production, manufacturing, storage and distribution is very important to understand because the quality depends on the overall control of the entire processing chain, right from harvest of the food matrix till the consumption. The major quality loss mechanisms and consequences need to be understood. There are 3 different mechanisms. One is microbiological growth, second is off flavor or off odor development, third one is the toxin production. The microorganisms or the microbial growth could be because of enzymatic reasons where browning can be a result. It could be because of chemical reasons where the color change in the food matrix could be a result. The third one is the physical changes, where you see that the food matrix has undergone physical changes to an undesirable level. Then we also have the microbial growth due to mechanical reasons, like for example, bruising during the harvesting of fruit or vegetable, etc. can lead to changes in the microbial organism growth in the bruised parts of the food matrices. Then we have the second quality loss mechanism, that is the changes in flavor or odor or aroma of the food materials. We can have enzymatic reasons for this, where you will see that color change could be a result. Then we also have chemical reasons for that, where you will see that the flavor loss or undesirable odors have developed in the food matrices. And there also could be physical changes or physical reasons where you see that there is a controlled release of the off flavors or off odors. And we also have some mechanical reasons like cracking up of the food material or disturbance or bruise in the entire food matrix, where you can see that off odors or off flavors can develop. Then the third quality loss mechanism is toxin production. We have the enzymatic releases we have the enzymatic activity which can lead to off flavors, and we also have some chemical changes like non-enzymatic browning, nutrient loss, redox reactions, etc. and physical reasons like flavor encapsulation, changes in the phases, recrystallization, shrinkage or shriveling of the food material, or any kind of changes during the transportation of the food matrices. And we also have the mechanical changes like the damages which can lead to pressure and different kinds of changes. All these enzymatic, chemical, physical and mechanical reasons can contribute to the toxin production quality loss. Now, after understanding the quality loss mechanisms, we also will understand the stages of the food processing. Let us now try to understand the factors which will affect the food quality, safety and choice also. If we look at the quality parameters, the factors which affect the quality parameters are: the food can become unsafe because of high levels of microorganisms, high levels of pathogens or microbial toxins, or presence of parasites, toxic chemicals, radioactive hazards, pesticides, insecticides, etc. Then we have the safety parameters, and these safety parameters could be because of changes in the packaging material, color, aroma, organoleptic and sensory changes can lead to the safety issues. Then we have the factors which will affect the food choice. For example, the advertisement, the media, public knowledge about the importance and significance of the food, social factors, economic factors, consumers' perception about the food, the media reports, past experiences, attitudes and expectations all can lead to changes in the choice of a consumer. Apart from that, the choice can be affected by factors like sensory factors, nutritive factors, functional factors and convenience factors. Now, after understanding the major mechanisms of quality loss and the factors which will affect the food quality, safety and choice of the consumer, we will try to understand the causes of deterioration in the food matrices. After understanding the factors affecting the food quality, let us now try to understand the causes of deterioration in the food. There are mechanical, physical and chemical causes and microbial effects which can lead to food deterioration and food spoilage. Damage can start at the initial point by mishandling of foods during harvesting, processing and distribution, which may lead to ultimate reduction of the shelf life. Other examples of the food deterioration could be because of bruising of fruits and vegetables during harvesting and post-harvest handling, which can lead to development of rot, etc. Then other reasons could be the loss of water in tuberous and green leafy vegetables because of low humidity, high temperature, etc., which will subsequently render them to wilt and shrivel. Then the third deterioration could be in the dried fruits which are kept in high humid conditions, which may pick up the moisture and they can become spongy. The four sources of microbial contamination in the foods which will lead to deterioration are soil, water, air and animals. In preservation, each component factor need to be controlled or maintained at a desirable level. During storage and distribution, foods are exposed to a wide range of environmental conditions. The environmental factors such as pressure, temperature, humidity, oxygen and light can trigger several reactions that may lead to food degradation. Mechanical damages like bruises and wounds on the surface of the fruits or vegetables or any other food matrices is conducive to spoilage, and it frequently causes further chemical and microbial deterioration. The peels, skins, shells constitute natural protection against any kind of spoilage by nature itself. Shriveling occurs due to loss of water in the harvested fruits and vegetables. Each microorganism has certain factors which will allow the development or suppression of the microorganisms. For example, optimal temperature is required for the growth of microorganism, optimal amount of water should be available, and also the temperatures have to be optimal to either develop or suppress the microorganisms. Bacteria that grow particularly well at low temperatures are called as psychrophilic bacteria, whereas bacteria which grow at optimal temperatures like 20 to 45 degrees centigrade are called as mesophilic bacteria, whereas the bacteria which grow above 45 degrees centigrade are called thermophilic bacteria. Depending on the types of bacteria, the processing conditions have to be optimized. Microbial growth in the foods results in food spoilage with the development of undesirable sensory properties, and in certain cases the food can be rendered unsafe for consumption also. Microorganisms have the ability to multiply rapidly when favorable conditions are present. For food preservation activities, we have to make sure that the optimal conditions are not created for the growth of microorganisms to prevent deterioration and spoilage. Apart from these, the presence of unsaturated fatty acids in the food also is a reason for development of spoilage in the form of rancidity, especially during storage as long as air or oxygen is available. While development of off flavors is markedly noticeable in rancid foods, the generation of free radicals during the autocatalytic process can lead to other undesirable reactions. For example, loss of vitamin C, alterations in color, degradation of proteins. The presence of oxygen in the immediate vicinity of food can lead to increased rates of oxidation. Similarly, water also plays a very important role. Some chemical reactions are induced in presence of water, induced by light, such as loss of vitamins and browning of meats, etc. Non-enzymatic browning is another major cause of quality change and degradation of nutritional content in majority of the foods where this kind of browning takes place. Environmental factors such as temperature, water activity, and pH also have influence on the non-enzymatic browning reactions. After understanding the various kinds of food deterioration, let us now first understand the principles of food preservation. Based on the mode of action, major food preservations can be categorized as slowing down process or inhibiting the chemical deterioration and microbial growth, then by directly inactivating the bacteria, yeast, mold, enzymes, etc. And the third one is to avoid recontamination before as well as after the processing techniques. So based on the methods of preservation techniques, the categories have been developed. There are a different number of techniques for food preservation, and let us now try to categorize the methods of food preservation broadly into three categories. The first category is inhibition of growth of undesirable microorganisms, etc. The second one is inactivation. Third one is avoiding recontamination. So based on three modes of action, inhibition, inactivation, and avoiding contamination, the food preservation methods are broadly categorized. In inhibition, we can go for low temperature storages, reduction of water activity, decrease of oxygen, increase of carbon dioxide, acidification, fermentation, adding preservatives, adding antioxidants, control of pH, freezing, drying, concentration, surface drying, chemical modifications, gas removal, changes in the phase transition, and hurdle technology. The second mode of action, that is inactivation, under which we have sterilization, pasteurization, irradiation, electrification, pressure treatment, blanching, cooking, frying, extrusion, light, sound and magnetic field application to the food. Then the third mode of action for food preservation is avoiding the recontamination before or after processing. This can be done through packaging, hygienic processing, hygienic storage, aseptic packaging by adaptation of HACCP, GMP, that is good manufacturing practices, by adapting ISO 9000 techniques and methodologies, and by adapting total quality management principles, and also by risk analysis and management during the entire processing technique. So these are the three modes of action based on which the food preservation methods are based. Any good method of food preservation is the one that slows down or prevents altogether the action of agents of spoilage. Also, during the process of food preservation, the food should not be damaged. In order to achieve this, certain basic methods were applied on different types of foods. For example, in earlier days, in very cold weather conditions, ice was used to preserve the food materials. Thus, a very low temperature method became an efficient method to prevent food spoilage. The principles of food preservation are categorized into three categories. Broadly, the first one is removal of microorganisms or inactivating them. This can be done by removing the air, water, or lowering or increasing the temperature, increasing the concentration of salt or sugar or acid content in the foods. And if we want to preserve green leafy vegetables, we have to remove the moisture content or water content from the leaves so that the microorganisms cannot survive. The second principle of preservation is inactivating enzymes. Enzymes found in the foods can be inactivated by changing their conditions such as temperature and moisture when we preserve food matrices like peas, etc. The third principle of food preservation is removal of insects, worms, rats, rodents, etc. This can be done by storing the foods in dry, airtight containers where ambient conditions are maintained, avoiding the insects, rodents, rats, etc. in the food preservation area. While the currently used preservation procedures continue in one or more of these three ways, there have been great efforts to improve the quality of the food products, principally to meet the requirements of the consumers through avoidance of extreme use of any single technique. Preservation starts when the harvested foods are separated from the medium of immediate growth, or meat from the animal after the slaughter, or milk from the normal secretion of mammalian glands. Post-harvest technology is concerned with handling, preservation and storage of harvested foods and maintaining it in original integrity, freshness and quality of all the food matrices. The methods of preservation, they depend on the origin of food, particularly whether they are from the plant foods or the animal origin foods. Post-harvest handling of foods from the plant origin includes efficient control of atmospheric environment, storage and transport systems. Physical treatments usually are curing, pre-cooling, temperature treatments, cleaning, waxing, etc. Whereas chemical treatments involved are disinfection, fumigation and dipping. Chemical disinfectants also can be used to kill the microorganisms. Several chemicals are also used as means of food preservation, and some of the chemicals which are utilized for preserving the foods are chlorine, chlorine dioxide, hydrogen peroxide, ozone, peroxyacetic acid, bromine, iodine, trisodium phosphate and quaternary ammonium compounds. Although fumigants are strictly not preservatives, they can be used for insect control. Methyl bromide is again one kind of fumigant which is used, and it has got the potential to damage the atmospheric ozone also. So care has to be taken while selecting the chemical preservative also. Inhibition is one method of preservation. This method is based on inhibition, which includes those that rely on the control of the environment. and those that result from the particular methods of processing, for example, microstructural control, etc. Apart from that, it also depends on the intrinsic properties which are built into particular foods, where you can control the adjustment of water activity or pH value in the food matrix given. Then in inhibition, we have usage of chemicals. The usage of chemicals for food preservation is very well known method of preservation since many years. Wide varieties of chemicals or additives are used in food preservation to control the pH as antimicrobes, antioxidants, and also to provide functionality as well as preservation action in the food. Some additives are entirely synthetic while others are natural. Synthetic additives examples are BHT. Then natural additives can be vitamin E, vitamin A, etc. as sources of antioxidant. Irrespective of the origin of the food additives, they must accomplish some desired functions in the food to which they are added. That is, they must be safe to the consumer under intended conditions of use. Many legally permitted preservatives in food are organic acids like esters, etc., including sulfides, nitrites, acetic acid, citric acid, lactic acid, sorbic acid, benzoic acid, sodium diacetate, sodium benzoate, methyl paraben, ethyl paraben, propyl paraben, and sodium propionate. When any weak acid is dissolved in water, equilibrium is established between undissociated acid molecules and charged anions. The proportion of undissociated acid increases with decreasing the pH. There are several limitations to the value of organic acids as microbial inhibition agents in the food materials. That is, they are usually ineffective when initial levels of microorganisms load is very high. Many microorganisms use organic acids as metabolizing carbon sources. There is also an inherent variability in resistance of individual strains of microorganisms. The degree of resistance may also depend on the conditions. Hence, while choosing the organic acids as microbial inhibition agents, we will have to select them based on all these factors. Then after that, under inhibition, we have the second category, that is control of water and structure. Many physical modifications are made in the ingredients or foods during the preservation. Such modification can improve the sensory, nutritional, and functional properties of the foods. The changes experienced by the foods during the storage include glass formation, crystallization, caking, cracking, stickiness, oxidation, gelatinization, pore formation, and collapse. By gaining precise knowledge and understanding such kind of modifications, one can develop a safe, high-quality food for consumption. Water being a very important constituent of all the food, the minimal water activity limit below which a microorganism or a group of microorganisms can no longer reproduce will be an ideal situation to preserve the foods by controlling the water as well as water activity. Third category under the inhibition is control of atmosphere. Packaging techniques based on altered gas compositions have a very long history of usage in the preservation of the food. The respiratory activity of various plant products generate a low oxygen and high carbon dioxide atmosphere which retards the ripening of the fruits. Modified atmospheric packaging is a sought-after preservation technique which may further minimize the physiological and microbial decay of any kind of perishable food products by keeping the microorganisms away through modified atmospheric packaging and aseptic packaging. Then we have the controlled atmospheric packaging. Under the controlled atmospheric packaging, the altered gas composition inside the packaging material is monitored and maintained at a present or preset level by means of scrubbers and the inlet of gases. Then we have active packaging, and this active packaging can provide a solution by adding materials which will absorb or release a specific compound in the gas phase. Compounds that can be absorbed are carbon dioxide, oxygen, water vapor, ethylene and volatiles, which can influence the taste and aroma of the food products. Apart from that, we also have vacuum and modified humidity packaging, which contain a changed atmosphere around the product. So these are the various methods of packaging which can render the food to be very safe. After inhibition, let us now try to understand the second principle, that is inactivation. Under inactivation, we have use of heat energy. Earlier, mostly heat was used for inactivation. Thermal inactivation is still most widely used method of food preservation. The advantages of using this heat for food preservation is that heat is very safe and chemical free. It provides tender cooked flavors and taste to the food matrices. The majority of the spoilage microorganisms are heat labile, and thermally processed foods, when packed in sterile conditions, have very long shelf life and keeping quality. Apart from the advantages, there are some disadvantages also, which are overcooking or cooked flavor can be imparted to the preserved and processed food. Apart from that, textural disintegration can also be another disadvantage. Then apart from the cooked flavor and textural degradation, we can also see that there will be nutritional degradation which will result from high temperature processing. Then after the use of heat energy, we have the second category, that is use of high pressure and ultrasound. So under high pressure and ultrasound, we can develop high quality fresh foods, and these are very popular, and there is a good demand for the high pressure processed and ultrasound processed foods because there are very few additives which are added to these food products. High pressure hydrostatic technology gained attention for its novelty and the non-thermal preservation effect. That is, in these kind of preservation, you will not find the cooked flavor, major loss of nutrients, etc. Then apart from the high pressure processing, we have the ultrasound technology. This ultrasound technique, it is nothing but a sound energy with a frequency range that covers the region from the upper limit of human hearing, which is generally considered to be 20 kilohertz. The two applications of ultrasound in the foods are characterizing the food material or processes such as estimation of chemical composition, for measurement of physical properties, and for non-destructive testing of quality attributes, as well as monitoring the food processing. Then apart from that, ultrasound is also used directly for food preservation as well as processing. The beneficial or deteriorative use of ultrasound depends on its chemical, mechanical and physical effects on the process as well as the products. Then we have the third category, that is use of electricity. There are many different forms of electrical energy which are used in the food preservation. The first one being ohmic heating, microwave heating, low electric field stimulation, high voltage, etc. Ohmic heating is one of the earliest form of electricity applied for food pasteurization. This method relies on the heat generated in the food product as a result of electrical resistance when an electric current is passed through the food material. Then we have the microwave heating, which has been extensively applied almost in every household and as well as in the food industry. But the low penetration depth of microwaves into the solid foods cause them non-uniformity in the preservation. Then we have the low electric field simulation, which has been explored as a method of bacterial control in the meat. The plasma membranes of cells become permeable to small molecules after being exposed to an electric field. Permeation then causes the swelling and eventual rupture of the cell membrane. The reversible or irreversible rupture of the cell membrane depends on the factors such as intensity of the electric field, the number of pulses which have passed through the food matrix, and the duration of the pulses. Then after the use of electricity, we have the fourth category, that is the use of radiation. Ionizing radiation interacts with an irradiated material by transferring the energy to electrons and ionizing the molecules by creating positive and negative ions. The irradiation process involves exposing the foods either prepackaged or as bulk material to a predetermined levels of ionizing radiation. Irradiation has got a very wide scope for food disinfection, shelf life extension, decontamination, and for improving the product quality. Although it has got very high potential, there are some legal aspects and safety issues and the consumer attitude towards the adaptation and use of this technology for food preservation. We also have ultraviolet radiation, which has again known to be a factor in the antimicrobial action and antibacterial action of the sunlight. It is used for sterilizing the air, the thin liquid films with low penetration depth. We also have pulsed light, which is again a sterilization method in applications where light can access all important volume and surfaces in the food preservation techniques. Then we have the usage of magnetic fields. Magnetism is a phenomena by which materials exert an attractive or repulsive force on the materials. The origin of magnetism lies in the orbital and spin motions of electrons and how the electrons interact with each other. The magnetic fields have potential in pasteurization, sterilization, and in enhancing other factors beneficial to the processing in the food preservation. Then let us now try to understand the third principle of food preservation, that is avoiding recontamination. In addition to any kind of direct approaches, other measures such as packaging, quality management tools, etc. have to be implemented in the preservation process to avoid any kind of contamination or recontamination in the food materials. Although these methods are not preservation techniques, but still they play a very important role in producing high quality safe foods. With respect to the procedures that restrict the access of microorganisms to the food, the employment of aseptic packaging technique for thermally processed foods has expanded greatly in the recent years, both in the number of applications and also in the number of alternative techniques which are commonly available. The first is to control the local environmental conditions to enhance the storage life. The second is the display, that is preservation of the food in an attractive manner to the consumer. The third function is to protect the product during the transit to the consumer. Then there is a new concept of active or live packaging materials. These live packaging material allows one-way transfer of gases away from the product or the absorption of gases detrimental to the product. They also lead to good packaging with antimicrobials, release of preservatives from the carbon dioxide and controlled release surfaces, then oxygen scavenging activity, then carbon dioxide generation, absorption or scavenging of odors, and absorption of selected wavelength of light, and there are capabilities for controlled automatic switching also through the active or live packaging. Another concept of edible or biodegradable packaging also has come into existence in the recent past, where the packaging material can be consumed and it is also biodegradable if it is not consumed. So processing and packaging can be integrated to improve the efficiency. So under this topic today we have learnt about what are food preservation techniques, what is food deterioration, and we also learnt about the principles of food preservation. We also learnt about the various stages which are involved in food preservation, the quality loss mechanisms, and we also learnt in detail about the various principles involved in food preservation. For further information, you can refer to any basic food technology textbook and the chapter on principles of food preservation. Thank you.